So Tna Impact took place once again in Orlando, Florida. The show starts with Rockstar Dud driving to AJ Styles' hometown to confront him. One sentence in, and this Rockstar Dud quest is already starting to smell. So then we see Jeremy Borash in the ring with the Feast or Fired briefcases and the Wheel of Dixie. He mentions that each briefcase contains a world title shot, a world tag team title shot, an X Division title shot, and a termination notice from TNA. Borash turns to the Wheel of Dixie and says that he will spin the wheel to determine what the stipulation will be for the world title tournament final between Magnus and Jeff Hardy. Then Kurt Angle comes to the ring. He grabs the mic from Borash and tells him to get out of the ring. Borash leaves and Angle proceeds to knock over the briefcases as well as the Wheel of Dixie. He screams for Robert Roode, saying that Roode cost him a shot at the belt and that they need to settle things for good. Roode repeatedly wants to know if Angle wants to go, but then tells him that it's not happening. He says that he should be knocking things over because he lost his tournament semifinal match by going through a table. Roode says that the reason that Angle is not in the tournament any longer is because since he rejected his Hall of Fame induction, Angle has been owned by him in the ring and in the head. Angle says that he could beat Roode twice in one night. Roode laughs and says that he no longer has any reason to wrestle Angle because of his past wins. Angle charges Roode and they start going. Angle rams Roode's head into the ring steps and then the action moves inside the ring. Angle pounds away at Roode with one fist, then both fists, and then one fist again. Referees and security try to keep them apart, but Roode and Angle meet again. After the second separation, Al Snow and Simon Diamond come to the ring. While Angle is being held, Roode breaks loose and kicks Angle in the balls. He pushes the mob away and tells them to back off. Roode grabs the mic and positions himself on the mat next to Angle. He tells Angle that since he thinks that he can beat him twice in one night, they will meet in a 2 out of 3 falls match at Final Resolution. Good opening segment. This program has been built up to the point that it will likely overshadow the tournament final. The tournament final should be the more anticipated match because a new world champion is being crowned. But because Roode versus Angle has so much steam, it won't be. Maybe Roode versus Angle should have been the tournament final that we should be seeing. So then we had Bad Influence versus Dumbass Joseph Park and Eric Young. And during the match, Young puts Park in a headlock and hits him until Park bleeds. Then Bruce Banner Joseph Park for the 4,754th time, sees his own blood, turns into Abyss, beats the crap out of Daniels and Kazarian, and gets the win. Oh yeah, that's right. Bad Influence lost the match, which is not surprising because TNA has chosen to book them as chumps. I think what TNA is doing is that they want to present Abyss without presenting Abyss. They want to show Abyss, but they want to do that within the Joseph Park persona. They are too insecure to let go of Park as well as the Park-Young combination. So Abyss will stay in Park's head as long as TNA keeps it there. So then we see Ethan Carter III come to the ring. Ethan tells referee Earl Hebner that he has nothing to worry about this week. He says that his opponent will be Jeremy Borash and tells him to get in the ring because he's Dixie's nephew. Then Sting comes to the ring. Sting says that he is in awe of being in Ethan's presence, and because of that, he shakes the nephew's hand. He sarcastically says that he should gravy train Ethan's potential for future success, but then says that he hasn't done anything. Sting calls Ethan out for taking advantage of the benefit of his last name in order to get over. He says that instead of playing around with Earl Hebner and almost Jeremy Borash, Ethan should do something more substantial by either competing in the Feast or Fired match or facing him. The two men stand face to face in the ring, and Ethan verifies that Sting wants him to make a choice on what he's going to do. He acts as if he's going to wrestle Sting, but then says that he will choose to be in Feast or Fired and leaves. This was a solid segment because we finally get to see Ethan move to the stage in which he finally has the chance to look credible. If TNA Creative would have had Ethan berate Sting last week, as I said, instead of doing the garbage with Earl Hebner, the transition to this confrontation would have been perfect. Now, the eventual match between Ethan and Sting is likely not going to be good because Sting shouldn't be wrestling anymore and Ethan doesn't have the experience to carry the match. But I will take this over what Ethan was previously doing. So then we see Rockstar Dud stopping at a gas station in AJ's hometown. The attendant tells him that AJ Styles can be found at a bar. I guess the humor here is that Dud probably has GPS in his car, yet he has a physical map in his hands. Hilarious, he said with simple sarcasm. So then we see a segment hyping the tournament final next week between Magnus and Jeff Hardy, in which both men make comments about facing each other. Of course, this match is going to have a gimmick that we would find out later on. None of these tournament matches needed a gimmick, but since there hasn't been a lot of anticipation for this match, a gimmick appears to be the only way that it can generate any. And that's not how it should be. So then we see Gail Kim and Lady Tapa in the ring. Gail says that the competition for her open challenge has not been on her level, yet she calls out her next opponent. ODB comes to the ring. Gail says that she has already beaten ODB several times and tells her to get out of the ring. ODB says she's not kicking Gail's ass, she's kicking Tapa's. ODB throws a blow at Tapa, driving her into the corner. ODB continues wailing away in the corner and clotheslines Gail as Gail tries to come up from behind. ODB takes a swig from her flask and whips Tapa to the other corner. She picks Tapa up, but Gail undercuts ODB from behind. Gail and Tapa start kicking ODB, driving her to the corner. Tapa puts her foot on ODB's neck as Gail watches, but then Madison Rayne spears Gail from behind, or rather spears Gail, thrashes the back of Gail's head on the mat, and throws her out of the ring. Madison goes after Tapa with a punch, but Tapa shoves her across the ring. ODB turns Tapa around and delivers a chop. Madison throws a punch that knocks Tapa back about 2 feet. 2 feet. Both throw blows again, then they fall back and charge Tapa, sending her over the top rope. Gail and Tapa retreat. So, Madison has red hair, and now she's a face. Her return seems to be an indication that the open challenge is being dumped. Either that or this open challenge was just an angle to reintroduce Madison Rayne. If that's the case, then why even do this open challenge? The point of this was to bring in new female talent, and from my argument, talent like Melissa Anderson that never got a chance to get over in TNA. The open challenge failed because TNA never allowed it to succeed. Madison Rayne is not great in the ring, and she was decent on the mic as a heel. I don't know about her being a face. I don't know about her being the women's champion. However, the potential Madison-Gale matchup will be another example of Gale doing what she does, putting over the faces and making those less talented look the best that they can because she is the nucleus. So then we see Rockstar Dud in a bar looking for AJ Styles. He orders a drink and quote unquote sings. Riveting. So then we see James Storm and Gunner backstage. Gunner tells Storm that he is sorry for costing them the match last week against the glorified jobbers. Storm says that they can put all their issues behind them by his grabbing the world title briefcase and Gunner getting the world tag team title briefcase in Feast or Fire so that they can go golden. Gunner brings up the possibility of one of them being terminated from TNA. Storm tells Gunner that if it's him, then it's him. So then we see Dixie Carter come to the ring. She says that Kurt Angle destroyed her Wheel of Dixie. Angle knocked it over. He didn't destroy it. Even though the match has already been made, Dixie figures that it becomes official coming out of her mouth and announces that Kurt Angle and Robert Roode will meet in a 2 out of 3 falls match next week. She says that AJ Styles continues to be her pain as he makes a joke out of the world title, but she is gleeful about seeing her new champion determined next week. Dixie calls out Magnus and Jeff Hardy and they come to the ring. She gives Hardy the mic. Hardy says that he and his creature cult won the title last year and they're going to win it again. Then Hardy once again starts his own chant. Magnus takes the mic and thanks Hardy for being one of the upper echelon wrestlers that allows him to make a living. However, he says that next week Hardy is just another guy in his way. Magnus says that Hardy is the best and he will beat the best. Dixie takes the mic back and says that the stipulation for the match will be a Dixieland match. The wrestlers will start the match in a cage. To win the match, one has to climb over the top of the cage, go down to the ring floor, go up the ramp to the ladder on the stage, climb the ladder, and grab the belt suspended over the ladder. Dixie says that the winner gets to fly on her jet and that one of them can have some wine with her in her executive room after the show. Both Hardy and Magnus didn't really come off well as far as getting anyone excited about this match. As far as the Dixieland stipulation goes, I take it that there will be little or no wrestling because once the bell rings, I would expect to see Hardy and Magnus immediately trying to climb out of the cage instead of locking up. Of course, that's how it looks on paper. Let's see if that's the case. So then we see Chris Sabin and Velvet Sky backstage. Sabin asks her how he looks and wants to know if he has her support for his title defense against Austin Aries. Then he wants to know if she has a new hairstyle, which she doesn't. Fail Sabin. So then we see Rockstar Dud go into AJ Styles' house. He finds the world belt. Styles catches him and kicks him out. This entire Rockstar Dud sequence was bad. It wasn't funny, it was pointless, and it didn't advance anything in this storyline. He's irritating. He's annoying. And no, it's not because that's the intent. It's because he sucks. Now, This is what I would have done. An attractive young woman shows up at AJ Styles' house. He opens the door and she tells him that her car broke down. She points to it and wants to know if she can come in and call AAA because she doesn't want to wait by her car at night. Styles invites her in and the young woman thanks him. Before she makes her call, she looks at Styles and slowly recognizes him, asking him if he's AJ Styles. Styles says yes. The young woman says that she's watched him on TV and that even though she's not that big of a wrestling fan, her boyfriend is a big AJ Styles fan. She tells him that he's in the military and that he will be going overseas soon. The young woman says that she knows that Styles is the world champion and wants to know if she can take a photo of them with the belt for her boyfriend before he leaves the country. Styles agrees and gets the belt. He brings back a black bag and takes the belt out. The young woman takes out her phone and she takes a photo of herself and Styles with Styles holding the belt. Styles tells her to tell her boyfriend that he thanks him for serving the country. She tells him that she has a dog in the car and that she needs to check on him. Styles says that she can bring the dog inside. The young woman thanks him and leaves. Styles puts the belt back in the black bag and waits for the young woman to return. After a few moments, there is a knock on the door. Styles opens the door and 5 men barge into the house and start beating up Styles. The young woman walks back inside and closes the door. She watches as the men kick and punch Styles. The young woman finally tells him that he's had enough. As Styles lies on the floor bloodied, she sees Styles' black bag and points to it. One of the men brings her the bag. The young woman opens the bag and takes out the belt. She makes a phone call and tells the person on the line that she has the belt. The young woman walks over to Styles and says that someone wants to speak with him. She puts the phone on speaker. It's Dixie Carter on the line. She tells Styles that she gave him the chance to return the belt and that since he didn't, this is what happens when he pushes her. She says that she's taking her belt back and that if he wants it, he can come back to TNA and get it. Dixie says that Styles was going to make her pay. She tells him that she just made him pay. Dixie hangs up. The young woman leaves with the belt, followed by the group of men. And we see the point of view of the cameraman as he backs away from Styles, leaves the house, and closes the front door. Now, I would have liked to have seen it played out that way because it would have been more serious, more intense, and it would have given Styles a reason to go back to the company, to take his title back. That, of course, would lead to the unification match. Styles would have the opportunity to win his belt back and take the belt of Dixie's champion. This would have been better than Rockstar Dud. So then we have an X Division Championship match. Chris Sabin, accompanied by Velvet Sky, defending against Austin Aries. Solid match. The match ends with Aries throwing a discus forearm to Sabin that knocks Sabin off the ring apron to the floor. Aries comes off the top rope and nails Sabin with a double axe handle. He follows that with a missile drop kick from the top rope. Sabin is knocked back to the corner. Aries tries to hit him there with a flying drop kick, but Sabin gets his foot up and sends Aries to the mat. Sabin goes to the middle rope and attempts a tornado DDT, but Aries throws him off. Sabin charges back toward him, and Aries executes an overhead arm drag that sends Sabin into the corner. This time, Aries hits Sabin with a flying drop kick. Sabin is draped over the middle rope and grabs Velvet's arm. As Aries pulls Sabin away, Sabin drags Velvet up onto the ring apron. Aries yanks Sabin free of his grip on Velvet, and as Aries is slightly distracted by Velvet, Sabin rolls him up from behind. Aries kicks out and sends Sabin into a near collision with Velvet, who is still on the ring apron. Sabin turns and Aries delivers the brainbuster to get the 3. The winner of the match, Austin Aries. He is the new X Division champion. The title win felt ho-hum-ish. It was underwhelming. It just happened. There was no excitement about it because of the lack of a storyline and build. Aries and Sabin started something before Bound for Glory, but it was never continued after that. It seems that TNA is trying to restart this, and that's fine, but there has to be a more consistent presence of the X Division on the show. Not just Sabin and Aries, but also building the next wave of challengers to the title. So then we see Aries, Sabin, and Velvet backstage. Sabin accuses Aries of using Velvet to win the title. He says that he'll get his rematch or put himself in feast or fire and either get the X Division title shot or the world title shot. Aries tells him that he's going to put himself in the match as well. Sabin says that Aries has his belt and asks if he wants his chick. Aries thanks Sabin for the thought and leaves. I can't see Aries and Velvet together. That won't work. So then we had the Feast or Fired match. 4 numbered briefcases attached to poles in the 4 corners of the ring. Each briefcase has a world title shot, a world tag team title shot, an X Division title shot, and an employment termination notice. Mr. Anderson comes out and does his ridiculous mic gimmick. But then Bully Ray attacks Anderson from behind and power drives him. He kneels over Anderson and tells him that although Anderson took away his future, he will make sure that his expectant wife and his children have one. This was a good continuation of the Bully Ray Mr. Anderson program. It would have been better without the music. It was brief, but it did the job. Bully Ray keeps referencing Anderson's wife, and I mentioned in the previous analysis that Bully Ray may show up at Anderson's house to confront his wife. That may be where they're leaning. So the Feast and Fired match finally gets started. The match was decent. I really didn't care about it. The only significant thing that happened storyline wise was Gunner preventing James Storm from grabbing the number 1 briefcase and taking it himself. So the results were Gunner with the number 1 briefcase, Zema Ion with the number 2 briefcase, Ethan Carter III with the number 3 briefcase, and Chavo Guerrero with the number 4 briefcase. The obvious would be Zema Ion getting the X Division title shot. Gunner wouldn't get the tag team title shot because he and Storm are about to go. And he won't be fired because he and Storm are about to go. The world title shot has to be his. Ethan wouldn't get the tag team title shot because he's too invested in himself to have a partner. Chavo gets the world tag team title shot. Ethan gets fired. But we know that he won't be. What was the purpose of having this match again? So then we see Dixie Carter in her executive room having her wine. And Jeff Hardy enters. He sits down with her. Dixie closes the blinds. False swerve. Hardy's not turning heel. You know better. Show ends. Final Resolution is the last special themed Impact of the year. This will be the show that finishes off 2013 and prepares us for 2014. There is a lot of optimism about the new year as far as TNA is concerned, and a new world champion will lead that optimism. That optimism comes with the same concerns. Without a strong foundation, you have a house that collapses. Without an engine, you have a car that won't operate. Without the three divisions that made this company what it is at their quality peak, instead of being great creatively, TNA will be creative without being great. I'm Tazmart 2002, and that was my TNA Impact Analysis for December 12th, 2013. If you're listening to me on YouTube, please leave your comments below. Click the like or dislike button, and if you subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. If you're listening to me on the Wrestling News Talk Facebook page, you can leave your comments below and click the like button if you like what I've been saying. I want to thank Stardog Champ for becoming one of my latest subscribers. I really appreciate it. And be sure to listen to the TNA Impact review that I do with Chuck P live every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock on Chuck P's YouTube channel. Next time we will have Carl Cleveland with us as we give our takes on Final Resolution. And if you can't watch us live, you can always watch the archive on Chuck P's channel. Also check out his channel as well as Carl Cleveland's. Solid show. Solid show. The return of Madison Rayne likely signals the end of Gail Kim's Open Challenge. If Madison accepts Gail's challenge and beats her, that won't count, so consider it over now. This reveals a bigger issue. Does TNA want to improve its women's division? The Open Challenge was supposed to be about finding fresh female talent. We saw Hannah Blossom, Candice LeRae, and Cherry Bomb. But will they be signed? TNA could have affiliation agreements with independent women's promotions such as Shimmer, WSU, Shine, and Pro Wrestling Eve, but they don't. At one time, the women's division carried this company. That could happen again. Maybe. But how long does TNA allow it to be just maybe? I'm Tazmart 2002. Gone.